the time to feel alive. Don't know if tomorrow will arrive. This is the time to feel alive. Don't know if tomorrow will arrive.
Okay, welcome back. Episode 2. We have Brandon Joe Williams here from onestupidfuck.com. You can go to his website and sign up for his free contract killer course, and you can learn how to set yourself free from the corporate state using their own legislation, their own statutes. It's all legal, it's all lawful, and he'll teach you how to do it step by step by step. I think there's about 38 videos in the course, and 38 steps to the course for the basic course, and then there's an advanced course after that. So welcome back, Brandon. Happy to have you here. And I just want to make note of the date. It is November 11th, 2023. So let's get out
Perfect.
of it. So, Brandon, I want to ask you a little bit about, what you're doing in California. It's so cool. You had custom plates made up. I think you said Florida plates or something like that.
So the first thing I did, because it's been kind of like one thing after the next, the first thing I did is I put my car in a trust that I have. I have a bunch of trusts, and I plated it actually like normal with the state of South Dakota. So South Dakota's, I think, the only state or one of the few states where you can actually plate your vehicle under a trust name, right? And you can actually transfer it to South Dakota without having to live there.
Interesting.
You can only do it through a trust. You can't do it through a corporation. Okay. So that was the first thing I did. I did that to get around smog. But then as I learned more and more and more, I realized that I don't want to have my vehicle be labeled as a motor vehicle, because a motor vehicle is a commercial vehicle that is transporting people, property, or cargo for some sort of rate, fee, charge, or other consideration, as per 8 USC 31 subsection 6 and subsection 10. So I decided that I wanted to change that up. So I went and I think it was actually Joe Lustica who found a lot of the information. He found that there's actually a different type of plate that you can get called a private motor carrier DOT number. Essentially, the way it works is the government can't really even think of you or operate with you or even really see you unless there's some kind of commercial avenue. So it's kind of a weird thing because it's defined as you're operating a commercial motor vehicle, but you're not actively involved in commerce when the plate is on the. It's super weird and confusing. It actually doesn't even make a lot of sense. But basically, as far as myself and Joe are concerned, it is sort of like the secret, because it's officially recognized by the police. It's completely free, and there's like no smog. There's no nothing associated with it at all. And you just print up your own plates however you want them to look, and you just slap the private motor carrier DOT number on it. And all you have to do is just go online and update your personal information every 2 years, which takes 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. You just carry around a registration. It's a private motor carrier DOT registration that you print off from the actual website. And you pay no fees. You have no registration sticker fees. You have no smog fees. They can't give you fix-it tickets. I mean, it's obviously you shouldn't have a derelict piece of shit car that's a danger on the road.
Yeah.
But the thing is, even if you did, there's really nothing they could do about it. So the private motor carrier DOT number combined with the passport is basically the ultimate combination of what we've done. So we've replaced the license plate and the registration sticker with the private DOT number and plates, and then we replaced the driver's license with the passport.
Right, yeah, because you can drive with the passport, and you use the.
Yeah.
I guess you were saying with the passport that you've got the book, and then you also have a card that comes with it.
Yeah. So in America, on the DS-11 passport application form, you can. It says at the top, do you want the book, the card, or do you want both? And then actually it goes even farther, and there's two different types of books. There's a standard book, and then there's a large book, which I don't think I've ever even seen the large book. I might buy one of those just to look at it. but
That's
apparently
interesting.
it's just a larger version of the same thing. I don't know if it's like bigger or it just has more pages, but there's actually two different types of book as well. The book is for international air travel, and the card is for a lot of different things. The card is for valid for domestic air travel, international land and sea travel between the U.S., Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Bermuda.
Mm.
Not valid for international air travel.
Yeah, yeah, I remember you talking about that before, and it made me start thinking about there was like a thing I heard about where they have this. You got to forgive me because I can't remember what it's called, but there was some sort of passport that was essentially made hundreds and hundreds of years ago for people because back then intercontinental travel was only done through ships, and you had to have like this book that declared that you didn't have all these communicable diseases and things like that. I can't remember what it is, but you get into these guys who research admiralty law, maritime law, and all that stuff. They would know more about that, but it sort of reminded me of that. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Well, it goes back to the fact that all of the 50 states are actually independent nation states.
Mm-hmm.
The public corporation has created corporate versions of all the states, which has fucked all that up. But 100 or 120 years ago, we actually operated as each state in the union was a separate country. So the passport was basically in order to travel between the different countries. It's sort of the same thing as like a Europe.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Did you want to talk about that at all for a minute? We didn't really talk about that, about United States, what that means as per definition, where that's located as per UCC, and all that stuff, because I think the viewers need to kind of really understand where you're coming from when you start talking about that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I can do a screen share.
Okay, let me just go to screen share.
It says I can do it, so I think it should be fine. Let me just
Let's see here.
screen. It's loading. It says it's up now. Can you see it?
Yeah, I might have to give you permission. Oh, looks like you got it. Is that right?
It says it's up. Can you see it?
I can see it. Just give me a sec here. I want to get back to where I was. Okay. Yeah, you go right ahead. We're good.
So 28 USC 3002. The first section here is the title. So I'll show you guys your peeps. If you go to the United States Code, do you know what this is in Canada, by the way? Is there like a Canada code?
Well, we have like the Canadian Criminal Code. Canada's really weird, dude. Like everything is on the fucking internet. They don't give us any like, there's no real way to find it unless you really just dig through and read each one.
Canadian legal code like the USC. Civil code. What is the
I know you go to Cornell Law all the time when you're digging up because it's handy to have all the links and everything, right?
That's Quebec.
Oh, I have links. If you're trying to find Canadian law, I mean, I could give you links, but for that, but
I'm just a little curious.
you'd be digging. If you're anything like me, you'd be digging for a long time. Let's see if I can give you.
Canada's system is based on the English and French systems.
Mm-hmm.
Fell under English common law, except for Quebec.
Which follows civil law. Is that what Wikipedia?
No, this is literally your
Oh,
freaking
you
government
found it. Yeah,
website.
yeah, you found it. Yeah. So we've got a couple, right? We've got a federal law website. It's like lois.com or something like that. And then we have each province has their own. And then there's the King's Printer, which used to be called the Queen's Printer. They publish a gazette. So it's weird because anytime they're bringing new laws or statutes into place, they release it through this gazette, and that's like supposed to be like their official way of releasing it to the public.
Mm. We have that too. It's the Code of Federal Regulations and the federal. We have something very similar. The term civil law is used to mean two different things, which can be a little confusing. Um, Sometimes it's used in contrast to common law. This is talking about Quebec specifically.
Mm.
Aboriginal and treaty rights.
For some reason, on my end, your screen is sort of chopped off on the left and the right hand border. I'm not sure exactly why.
Hmm. It's saying here indigenous people, and then there's treaty rights. I'd say that's probably the same thing that we're doing over here with the diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, we have
The
the
church.
people of the Salmon. They form their own nation and they're sovereign, with respect to the corporate version of Canada. I've just discovered them recently, so I'm sort of digging into that. There's a man here I've got a ton of respect for. He's like the Canadian version of what you're doing. His name is Robert Menard. Absolutely love the work that he's done in the past. He was on this, years and years and years ago, and now he hasn't been so active lately. But I know just now he's starting to ramp up and start to look at developing a course similar to what you've done to give people a step by step, specifically in Canada, right? But really, when you get into common law, it can apply across the entire world.
Any English based country. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So back to what we were talking about. Why don't you tell the people about like what is U.S., what is D.C., like what is?
So the United States Code is in these different titles. You can see here the different sections, right? So we're going to go to 28 refers to Title 28, and then U.S. Code, and then this is a section sign, and then this is 3002. Go down to definition number 15, and you'll see here United States means a federal corporation.
Mhm.
And then we're going to go to the Uniform Commercial Code in order to find out where the location of that corporation is. UCC 9-307, subsection H. Location of United States. The United States is located in the District of Columbia.
Mhm.
And then if we wanted to go farther into like the naturalization and all that kind of thing, we could do that to 42 USC 9102, subsection 18. This is talking about United States citizen means any individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or naturalization. If you replace this United States right here with the District of Columbia, because that's the definition of where it's located, it makes it a lot more simple. Actually, you have United States citizen means any individual who is a citizen of the United States by law, birth, or any individual who is a citizen of the District of Columbia by law, birth, or naturalization. And then you have law is by contract, birth is by being born in the District of Columbia, which doesn't really matter because the naturalization is based off of where you currently live. So even if you were born in the District of Columbia, it doesn't really mean much. And then you have naturalization. Naturalization definition is found in 8 USC 1101, subsection A23. Go down to A23. The term naturalization means the conferring of nationality of a state upon a person after birth by any means whatsoever.
Mhm.
And then you go to something like, for example, like 8 USC 1401. And this one describes the differences in how a person is both. The following shall be nationals and citizens of the United States at birth. So you realize there's actually two different
Statuses.
statuses. And what we're doing is you hear a lot of thing about like status correction, status change. You're getting rid of one of them and then you're keeping the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And the technical term on that is called a non-citizen national of the United States. And you can type that into the internet and you can see definitions on that. You can see certificate of non-citizen nationality from the Department of State. They do talk about this. It is pretty convoluted, and there's not a lot of information about it because you know, they don't really want people doing this because the government loses all jurisdiction and power over you when you do this.
Hmm.
But it has the um, all the information here.
Hmm. Yeah, the naturalization thing is absolutely mind blowing to me. Because everybody makes it sound so difficult. They're like, oh, I'd love to move to the States and blah, blah, blah. But really, I mean, all you have to do is confer it upon yourself by any means whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
There's steps to that, right? Like you have to do affidavits or whatever. But
Yep. That's exactly right. So it is 101 A29. Let's see here. Where's 29 at? 29. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. That's just nailing down their possessions offshore, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it's just
But again, that's a possession of the corporation, which is located only and exclusively in the District of Columbia.
yeah, like the term passport means any travel document issued by competent authority showing a bearer's origin, identity, and nationality, if any, which is valid for the admission of the bearer into a foreign country. Hmm.
And it's funny because I got looking at the my version of my Canadian passport, and certainly on the inside of the cover it said, it's issued to agents or officials or something to that effect. I remember you talking about that with the American passports.
Yeah, like if we were to look up Canadian passport, I've never looked anything like this up before, but is there a form or something that you guys fill out?
Dude, like I was saying, everything is on the net there, so you got to look through, and there's like 3 or 4 options they give you, and I'm sure that there's more to it than just what they're showing us here. Like if I was to, let's say, go to an office and apply, or ask them for an application, let's say as a national on the land or something like that, there's probably a separate application, right?
Yeah, let's see here. I'm a bit curious. Application for a new
If you
adult
if you were to go to
passport.
Google and just type in types of Canadian passports, it will probably bring you right to the page.
The hell?
There you go.
It's the same thing. Diplomatic, special, refugee.
Interesting, right? So, yeah, okay, we're going down a different rabbit hole, but I love all of this stuff. So, when you get into the diplomatic passport, that would be for somebody who has, like, you talk about for your system as it pertains to Americans, you talk about the revocation of election, which is basically essentially you stating that you're revoking your election to pay taxes to the IRS. And then,
Well,
like,
it's a little different than that if you want to be really, really specific. It's
yeah,
it's
let's do
revoking
that.
it's revoking the election to be treated as a resident alien for purposes of determining your income tax liability.
God bless
So
you.
it actually has to do with location.
Hmm.
So it's basically you're revoking the election to be treated as though you are physically located inside of the District of Columbia for
Yes.
purposes of determining your income tax liability.
Yes. And I remember being in elementary school, and I remember them handing me a form from the government and asking me if I wanted to elect to sign it. And I remember asking my teacher, like, what does this mean? And she says, well, it just means, you'll pay taxes, you'll help pay for the roads and all that stuff. And I was just a kid. I can't even remember how old I was, but it was like before high school, right? And I'm like, dude, I want to revocate that election. As far as I'm concerned, all my contracts are null and void. Since I've discovered that the government is a corporation, and I actually did a little bit of digging, and we've got a freedom fighter here in the area that I live in. I'm in Peterborough, Ontario, And one of the freedom fighters here, her name is Maggie Hope Braun, and she's very, very active on a municipal level. And she's gone to municipal meetings and exposed the fact that Peterborough is a corporation that is registered, I think, under the United Nations or something like that. And so she's sort of fighting that whole corporate movement with the smart cities and all of that thing, right? So I hope to have her on the show sometime to really dive into that, the corporate side of things. But that's a long way of me telling you that I discovered that Canada's a corporation and it's listed as located in the District of Columbia.
Yeah, if that's the case, then you would let's see here. I solemnly declare that I am a Canadian citizen. You guys don't have any other options.
Exactly. Now, I did a little bit of digging on this. You can revoke your Canadian citizenship, and they say that once you do it, you can never re-obtain it if you decided that you wanted to, right? So these are the sort of rabbit holes that I'm trying to find the time to dive down. I'm hoping that some of the viewers of these episodes are going to either have the answers I'm looking for already, or be willing and able to dive into it and say, well, let's look at this the way that Brandon looks at this stuff.
Yeah, you're probably better off naturalizing into America and then getting a non-citizen national American passport than you are getting one of these.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, hold on. There's certificate of naturalization. Let's see here. If you were born outside of Canada.
but now Canada as a corporation is located in the District of Columbia, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So unless I was born in DC, technically in the two-dimensional world, I would have been born outside of Canada.
Yeah. Certificate of registration of birth abroad.
That's a
Let's
tricky
see.
thing that viewers are going to have to wrap their head around, is that when they say United States, they're literally talking about a little tiny spot in Washington in the District of Columbia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this one doesn't seem to be able to get you anything except a corporate version of one. So I would probably just naturalize into America, the United States of America, and then I would get a non-citizen national American passport rather than this one.
It's, do people are people allowed to carry more than two passports? I mean, I don't know if allowed is the right word to use. I mean, authority is only in the mind, really, right?
Sure, I don't see why not. I don't know. Yeah, I know the answer is yes, because I know there's like celebrities carry a whole bunch of different ones and stuff. Yeah, so you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got some friends who have left Canada because of the absolutely communist regime up here. That with the lockdowns and the mandates and the testing. I personally lost my career over the COVID lockdowns, and then I've got some personal friends who have lost their businesses, and what they see coming down the pipes has been enough to inspire them to pack up and literally move out of Canada. I've got a number of friends that have all fled basically down to South America regions, and some of them to the States.
Oh wow. Yeah,
So,
I've heard a
the
lot of
naturalization thing, I'm trying to share it with these guys. It's like, but people kind of get stuck in this loop, or they're like, they just believe that the government has authority, and I look at the government the same way that Christopher James looks at the government. They're a service corporation. They're no different than McDonald's or Walmart, and like to grant them authority is the same as granting Taco Bell security guards authority over you, or Taco Bell managers or owners authority over you. You know what I mean? When you really dig into it and you really start to discover that these are literally just corporations, and then what they've done is they've enacted this giant smokescreen of legislation and rules, and they just say you're absolutely obligated to squeeze into this little box here. And I don't agree. I never have. You know what I mean? And I don't consent to be governed, is I guess what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah, it comes down to like you said, a service organization. So it's kind of one of those things where, the idea that you may want to contract with that service organization, as long as that service organization is producing something of value. For example, in America, and we've kind of come full circle on this, where originally we're like, fuck this, we want to get out, and then now we're back in, and now we're seeing that it's actually a pretty awesome system, and now we're getting more involved. So it kind of comes full circle too, where you realize that the whole thing is for your advantage, and the whole thing's actually pretty awesome. You just have to understand and really know how to operate within it and how it works. And you have to be very, very careful and very, very diligent about all the different documents and all the different papers and everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, you're at a point now where you're utilizing like custom made stamps and things like that. I know that you've got a few videos for the viewers. Brandon's got a few videos up on the internet talking about infinite money, and it's a real thing. They've essentially cracked the code, and right now people are working through it. I see success stories on the Facebook group almost every day. There's other stories where people haven't had success yet, but the infinite money thing, we'll save that. Let you talk about that on another time, when either on another show or on another episode with me here. But
Yeah.
yeah, the infinite money thing blows my mind because you made a statement one time. Damn it, I wrote it down on my phone because I was just blown away by it. And let me just see if I can pull it up real quick. I'm not going to sing like you do. In your contract killer course, maybe do a little strip tease or whatever.
There you go. Now we're
Yeah.
talking.
I'll have to run upstairs and get a couple cucumbers and dance around.
There we go. Now we're talking. Now you're talking my language.
Okay, where the hell is it? Oh, no. Damn it, I've got it right here. Here it is. So you said on one of the episodes I was listening to, I was so like struck with this that I had to type it out and sort of bring it to your attention and just let you expand on it if you wanted to. Social Security is the exchange that the government gives you for collateralizing your birth certificate against the debt that the corporation has with the Federal Reserve. It was on the Awaken Nation podcast, right?
Yeah, so that's the whole 1933 Emergency Banking Act, 1935 Social Security Act. That's the whole. They give you infinite money and infinite credit in exchange for you creating the public corporation and using yourself as a natural person as a surety on that public corporation to float the value of the money supply. So they're basically saying if you plug into this system and you give us the energy that we need to run this system, in exchange, we'll give you infinite credit because, as per 18 USC 8, all securities and all bills are all obligations of the United States. So they're basically saying, like, all the bills and everything else, it's all our responsibility. Basically, the way that America actually is physically is it's a completely socialist or communist country with like a glaze of capitalism frosting over top.
On the surface level. But going back to what you just talked about, prior to that comment, they don't tell anybody. They don't tell anybody that it's collateralized based on the potential production and value of their lifespan, and they don't tell anybody.
Well, they'll tell you that there's the Social Security Act, and they'll say, that's what they'll say, and it's like you have to go and dig through the Social Security Act if you want to find that information.
Right. Yeah.
But do you guys have Social Security kind of thing out there in Canada?
Yeah, you guys call it SSN number. Up here we call it a SIN number, which is a social insurance number, right?
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Similar system. And actually, I'd love to talk about that with you more. Are you able to stick around and record another episode?
Yeah, let's do one more. I could do one more.
Yeah, right on, bro. Okay, well, so what we'll do is we'll tie this one up here, and we'll jump back in. We'll talk about the social insurance number, social security number, and all that sort of stuff, and the ens ligas and all that. So stay tuned, everybody, and we're going to be back with episode 3 featuring Brandon Joe Williams. Cheers.
Perfect.
This is the time to feel.